Welcome back, everyone. This is Frank Whiskey Charlie Zero Oscar. I'm over here in Bolsa Chica State Beach, and it's a POTA site. It's a Killo 3411. And what I want to talk about is the contacts that I've had over the last 2 months. I have now earned the Killo Award from the POTA organization. It is an award or certificate that says that I've activated and have submitted proof of 1,000 contacts here at Bolsa Chica State Beach, which is fantastic. It is wonderful to achieve that goal. I now have approximately very close to 1,400 contacts, and I want to share some of the data that I've collected over the, um, the activations that have been here at the beach. It might give you a sense of what type of contacts you might get, maybe what type of bands to use, and of course, this is still subjective because it depends on the antenna that you use, but also there's some quantitative data that might be useful for you. So let's look at some data that I've collected, and maybe it might be helpful for you. Okay, so on this graph here, we have on 16 activations and approximately 1384 or 1,300 or close to 1,400 counts, 1,384. You can see that I'm getting a lot of California contacts, very close to 100, and then Colorado, which was surprising but not really, and I'll mention why later on. Georgia, because there's somebody in Georgia that really follows me, and so that's kind of like why it's high. Oregon, which is not surprising, which is just that way, and then Texas, which is very high. I get a lot of Texas contacts, and then Washington State. So it seems like this is something that now that I'm thinking about it, could be. I'm thinking of why it might be like this, and I'll share it in another graph. Of course, I think I might have every state here. I mean, I got Connecticut, right? New Hampshire, right here, New Jersey, right? Not a lot, very hard to get. Arizona doesn't seem that high, does it? British Columbia, I do get a few of them, which is very, which makes sense because it's also that way, not so much northeast of me. Pennsylvania, I get some Pennsylvania contacts as well. Ohio, which is really neat. Michigan, Wyoming. So this is a distribution. This is a bar graph of the different states, and I really haven't counted if I have all 50 states around. I know I have Hawaii somewhere over here. Here it is, Hawaii. So that's pretty neat, right? Kentucky, Louisiana, and so forth. Maryland. Okay, so let's look at another graph here. So these are the frequencies that I've used in those 16 activations. As you can see, I'm using 14.305. Seems that frequency seems to be working nicely and not much interference. You can see that I have almost 411 counts. 14.310, 14.315. So I'm over here in the 14.3s. You can see that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, almost 800, approximately 800. And look at this, maybe 900 and more contacts. So, I did stay in the 20-meter band. I do have some 40-meter band, and I also have some 18 megahertz as well. Not much, but definitely very interesting in that I'm only doing 20 meters. Okay, so here's an overall representation, much more graphical in terms of showing you the a bar graph on the different bands. I have some 17 meters, as you can see, not a lot. The bulk of it is 20 meters, of course. I have a 2 meter and 70 centimeter, one contact each, because I had some friends come over, and we had HT, so we talked to each other that way, which was pretty neat. And of course, some 40, which is not a lot. You can see it's like very close to almost 100 contacts. 40 meters doesn't work very well here for me, because my car seems to not do very well on 40 meters due to the ground plane. Maybe 40 meters is very hard for mobile. That's what I've read. So I'm trying to figure out what would be the best, system for 40. I'm still looking for it. Maybe a Tar Heel antenna might be the thing for me to give me that more efficiency, I've heard, than the Hustlers, which I love. By the way, all this information is mostly by the Hustler antenna that I have. Only one activation did I do, or maybe two, but for sure one. I use the diamond antenna, the HF 20CL or HF CL20. That antenna I used once, and it was very impressive. Okay, radio wattage. So I did a few 5 watts. That in this particular area doesn't seem to work very well. But I didn't try. This is kind of like when I started my POTA activations. You can see 10 watts. Not super, but pretty good. 25 watts seems to be something that I'm able to do. Now, I'm using from 40 watts this way. I'm using the IC705 with the MXP50. And you can see 35, 40. These are all approximations based on, there is no meter on the MX. Well, on the MXP50, there isn't a way to exactly measure it, but there are some approximations that you can find on the web to suggest the wattage. And then I brought the big boy, right? The IC7300 with 80 watts. You can see 80 watts does very nice. And then 85 and 90. And the only reason why those are there, sometimes, there might be some real issues in propagation, so I have to pump it up a little more. And the Bioenno battery that I have, the one that's 12 amp, 12 volt, the 144 amp hour, that one really does a good job in holding and giving enough juice for the radio. Okay, park to parks, 80 of them in close to 1,400 contacts. That's a lot if you think about it. 80, right? Definitely, it's not 10%. It's less, right? More closer to 5% probably. And so here you can see that I don't get a park to park, like the same park to park, right? It seems like this park I got 5 contacts, and in this park I don't know what these parks are. I might put it on the screen over here if I remember, but not a lot. And I think this also depends on, of course, propagation, what day, right? A lot of the times I would activate maybe on a Monday or a Friday or something right after work, because work is not too far away from here. So, during the week, I might have not gotten as much POTA activations. I mean, park to park activations. And maybe during the weekend it would have been better. So here is the Zulu time. This took me a little while to put together. All this data that I've collected was through hammers, which I really appreciate the app. Although the only export version that it has is the ADI. It's ADI, right? ADI extension, which puts the data in a particular form, and it's really hard to do data analysis. So I had to learn a little Python and to parse it. And later on, I found out that there are programs that can arrange the data in a more of a comma separated value method. But by that time, I was already into Python. So a lot of these graphs are done by that. If you're interested in doing something like this, I'm sure there are other pieces of software that can help. And I bet you hammers eventually will get to that point. All right, so let's move on to over here in terms of Zulu time. So exactly when the day is beginning in Zulu time, which in here in Southern California could be 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, right? I think most of the activations I started after daylight savings was removed. So here at around 5 o'clock, let's say, I usually don't start at 5 o'clock, but if I did, I start it this way. But you can see there's a peak right here, and then it goes down. And it looks like this is 5, let's say, right? Here, this is 5 o'clock, and then this must be 6. This must be 6:45. And I've noticed that the sun, by this time, the sun is, 2 months ago, the sun was going down maybe around 7:30, maybe 7:25 or something. Today, it gets very close to 8. But recently, I've noticed that around very close to, 7:45, I said, right? The sun goes down around 7:45. So recently, I've noticed that around 7 o'clock or a little bit past 7 o'clock, I get a lot of people coming in. In the East Coast, if you think about it, 6, 7, 8, 9, that would be 9:30, 9:45. Probably not many in the East Coast, right? It would be interesting to go more into depth here because, there are certain days I can't be here at the park. Or if I am on a Saturday or Sunday, doesn't seem like I can do very well. And then it just picks up here a little bit. Right around 4 o'clock, right? 4 o'clock would be, I don't know, here, I guess, right? This would be around 4 o'clock on those days that I can, on vacation or something. All right. So you can see that there's a trend. And so most of the time I would come here in the evening, and then the real activation, as you can see, started towards when the sun is going down. Signal reports, right? These are the received signal reports. You can see not too many in the 1-1s. The 2-1s, right? A little bit. 3-1s, especially close to 3-3, right? These are discrete values, by the way. But still, they're in a histogram. The 3-3s, I get a lot. The 4-4s, looks like the 4-4s I get a lot. They're grouped like this because a lot of the times, as most likely my voice, right, the clarity of the voice gets better, right? This is telling me that I'm going out and people are listening to me, are able to hear me, but not necessarily with a lot of power, right? But look at this. The bulk of the majority of the contacts here are in the 5s, right? They can hear me. And look at this. In the 5s, I get a lot of 5-9s, 5-5s. Look at this. I get a lot of 5-5s and a lot of 5-9s. 350. 355 fives. And if you look over here, very close to 250, right? So that's 3, 4, 5, 600, right? 600, not quite half, a little bit less than half of my contacts, right, are in the 5.5 through 5.9 range. That's pretty incredible. But then again, Bolsa Chica State Beach is wonderful. There's not many homes, and it's really clear. Now, my signal reports being sent is something different. Perhaps maybe I'm not doing it right, the reports. Definitely I try to read the signal that's coming in. But you can see that I have a lot of 1-1s because I have a headphone and I really try my best to listen to the conversation. A lot of 2-1s, a lot of 3-1s, a lot of 4-1s, right? I can see the signal. No, I can hear them very well, right? That's it. I can hear them very well, but I can't seem to see the signal in my meter. I'm not sure. And then it looks like a pretty wide range of the 5.5s to the 5.9s, 5.1s to the 5.9s. Pretty interesting, isn't it? Okay, let's look at the next one. Okay, now let's talk about the grid squares. And the grid squares, these are my, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, the top 10. We got Oregon and Happy Valley, Georgia, Saskatchewan, Washington State, 2 Washington states, here in Seal Beach or very close to Seal Beach, Lufkin, Texas, Missouri, South Carolina, and Massachusetts. Look at that. And these are the mileage. Look at this. 847 miles, 1,900 miles, 13. Well, close to 2,000. I'm rounding, right? 1,400, 1,000, 874, 5 miles. 1,362, 1,483, 2,000, 2,600 miles. That's pretty incredible. Especially when, I started, maybe 2 years ago, probably in HF, I wasn't getting anywhere. Maybe I would get one contact. But I think Parks in the Air is, of course, not contacting somebody just regular CQ, right? People are hunting you. People are willing to talk to you. And there's something about Parks in the Air, I think, that will stick around for a long time in ham radio. And definitely I'm going to talk about that. I have my theories. You can definitely tell that POTA is going to stick around and it's going to get even bigger. You can definitely see it a lot of frequencies being used for POTA. And it's definitely useful for a lot of things. And again, I'll talk a little bit about that. But over here on this, let's say on the first grid square, right? You can see that there are people that do follow you, and that's really cool. Charlie follows me. Maybe not follow me so much, I guess, but sometimes I do recognize them and they do recognize me. So 9 out of the 12 contacts come from that specific square. Arnold, if you're watching this, I appreciate it. Arnold was one of the first people to contact me from far away, from Georgia, where it's very hard to hear from him. It could be his antenna, or maybe just his setup, or maybe he's in the valley or something. But I try to hear him all the time. And then Wesley is another person over here in Canada, right? That a lot of times will just pop up out of the blue, which I really appreciate. Some of these call signs, I really, really try to memorize them, but I can hear their voice, and their voice usually, or their suffix, right? Sometimes they'll be like MUD or SLY or something. John is another person from Washington State. Jeffrey, Mike, Jerry, and Craig. So all these people here um, seem to come back and contact me, and they're probably, maybe there's one there that's a part of the top 100 hunters. And so these, of course, will these square, this is one of the reasons why there's some of these square or grid squares are high counts. Okay, so here comes the fun part. I think this is the most interesting part of the conversation. So this is a this is from Hammers, which is really cool. They have a nice, beautiful map, and this is one contact, or I should say, I'm sorry, one POTA activation that that I have that I've pulled out from the data, and you can see overall, if I was talking about this park or this beach and talk about it with only this data in terms of patterns, I don't think it would be, with 100, this is like 100 plus. It wouldn't be too bad, but 1,300, 1,400 data points, that seems to be a little more credible in terms of like what's going on in this particular area. Now, if you're watching this 10 years from now, right, this is what, 2022, right? If you're watching this 10 years later, it might not be the case because the sunspots might be different. But anyway, or even if you had 10 contacts, I don't think it would be fair enough to say this is what's going on in propagation wise. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, so overall you can see that I'm not reaching people, not so many people in Utah, right, in here. Not so many people. Let's change the color here. Let's say purple. Not too many people in Arizona and New Mexico, maybe one or two. Not too many in Nevada or in Utah, and not too many in California. And if I use my 40 meter antenna, I tend to get more of this area here. But in this case, I wasn't using my 40 meter antenna. As you know, the Rocky Mountains is somewhere around here, isn't it? And thus, you probably won't see too much activation there. And you can tell on this graph over here that something was going on, right? You can see over here in Colorado, right? Again, a lot of contacts in Colorado. Probably when it's going over those mountain ranges, maybe something is going on in terms of getting it very close to that state. I don't know. It just seems really interesting that the propagation waves doesn't seem to get too much in Utah, right? So if I'm getting a lot of contacts, right, in Colorado, you can see that sort of makes sense because I'm getting a lot of activations. I'm getting a lot of contacts from Washington State and Oregon. And as you can see, now it's being more of a mess right here. Let's get rid of all this. You can see like this area here. I'm definitely, I don't know if that's the first bounce from the atmosphere that is just aiming out and then it's skipping all these, skipping all of California. I don't know. I'm not an expert in propagation, not yet. And then you can see that after it bounces here, or I don't know what it does, right? I would assume it bounces, it goes to the atmosphere and then it just reflects and goes down, right? But and then you can see that there might be another band here or something. right here. Looks like there's another band here. And then just scattered, and then there seems to be another band here maybe. There might be something going on over here too, of course. Right here. And then it looks like there's another band and another band, right? What I mean is not another band in frequency, but just another part of the United States. Now I'm not getting anything over here. I'm not getting anything over here because maybe there's not a lot of people with radios, right? The population is sparse. And like I mentioned before, over here is the Rocky Mountains. And then you can see over here, I did get a contact in Hawaii and also in Alaska. So it is propagating out. As a matter of fact, I got a contact in Spain. It was perfect. Which I think it was Spain, yes. And I was really happy with that. Okay, why am I showing you this, right? What's the point in showing you one map, right? Unfortunately, I can't map all the points. It would be very interesting to look at, and I'm trying to figure out if I can. Contact distances. This is the graph that I want to show you, okay? Which we're going to talk about a little bit. So based on the grid that they belong to, I was able to work backwards to get the latitude and longitude, and then based on that, how far away that is from Bolsa Chica. And as you can see, there is definitely within 150 miles, there's really some contact. Definitely the ground wave, I think. Ground wave propagation, right? If you know a little bit of Southern California, it does go all the way to Torrance, the Palisades, down to Huntington Beach, Anaheim, right? And I'm pointing at where Anaheim is. Huntington Beach, past Huntington Beach. I might even had somebody close to San Onofre. So you can see that propagation is occurring. And then it just dies out. Look at that. It just dies out. And then it just comes back up again. See that? And then it dies out. And then it comes back again. And it dies out. And over here, it seems like it comes up and it might go down, right? But you can see that it just goes up a lot and then goes down. There might be some mixtures. Something is going on there, and I know what it is. Here we have Washington, Oregon, and Colorado, which is in that band that I was talking to you about. They're all mixed in there. And, of course, the Rocky Mountains is over here somewhere, which doesn't really mean anything. It just means it's a boundary that I think we can all agree on. And this particular histogram, this area that's right there, we can see that Washington, Oregon, Colorado is the happening place for me in this park with this antenna, the Hustler antenna. So even though my car wasn't pointing north, it was pointing more northeast. The propagation seemed to be relatively more to the north. And as you can see, look at this. There's a trend that's going down until for whatever reason it starts going up and then it goes down. Look at that. Isn't that crazy? That's pretty amazing. And then you can see that it goes up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, maybe up and down, 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 right? What do I mean by up and down? Like there's not many contacts in that particular mileage, but as I'm adding 25 more miles, it just seems to peak and then it goes down, and it goes peak and it goes down. This could be some evidence, right? I'm not saying this is, but we can hypothesize, right? We kind of hypothesize what's going on. It's possible that the waves are going up, it hits the atmosphere, it's going down, hits the ground, and it just, after it hits the ground, it just goes up, right? But why not in California? I'm pretty sure there's stations north, right? It almost assumes that there isn't any, but then again, it starts to bounce right after Colorado, right after Oregon, right after Texas, right? This empty space of 700 miles could mean that that's probably the range at its first bounce at around 700 miles. And then after that, because it bounced once, it has maybe a propensity to bounce again. I don't know. I mean, if you are an expert in propagation, maybe you can tell us a little bit what's going on over here. This is amazing amount of information. It just gives you, a sense of how much science there is in terms of in doing our hobby. And then, do I have another page over here? No, that. I think that's it. No, that's it. That's the last page. Okay. So, what does that really mean, right? What does this all mean? Well, there, there's a lot of course, there's a lot of open questions that can be maybe resolved, right? What would happen if I used 100 watts all the time instead of like just pick and choose whatever whatever's available? That would be very interesting, right? Another question is, why is it traveling? Why I'm not getting any California stations? Should I really move my car more north? Maybe I can get that. Probably not. What happens if why not use 40 meters? What type of propagation would I get there? And only 40 meters, and see how far it goes throughout the day. Wouldn't that be exciting to look at? Another thing I want to do is VHF, UHF. There was one contact that I didn't put it on the logs because I totally forgot about it. Maybe was I had a tape measure Yagi, and I was pointing to that way, which was Anaheim, and I was getting a 5.9, but I totally didn't write it down. I think wouldn't it be nice to have POTA activations with a Yagi? See how far I can go, especially at night when the propagation might be better, or weak signal VHF propagation. Okay, well, that's a lot of information, isn't it? I hope you come over here to Southern California, visit Bolsa Chica State Beach. It's very beautiful, and maybe this information will help you. And thank you again for those people who did the super thanks. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a wonderful week. This is Frank Whiskey Charlie 0 Oscar.